Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gia, and today I'm so excited to do this video because I'm going to be reading my most anticipated releases of April. If you saw my March wrap-up / April TBR video, you saw that there's a lot of anticipated reads that I have coming out in April. This video is going to be reading 3 of them. The first book I'm going to be reading is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. Abby Jimenez is one of my favorite authors of all time. I love her writing. I love how she writes characters, and I read all of her Part of Your World series, and I absolutely loved how she executed that whole entire standalone series. That was a 5-star series for me, so I'm hoping this one is going to be too. I already started reading it. I'm about 146 pages in, and I am loving it so far. This follows a character named Samantha, and Samantha is sort of like a social media marketing person for this mustard brand. She ends up rescuing this kitten, and she takes it to the vet to get it checked out. And there's this character who comes in named Xavier, and he's this tall, dark-haired veterinarian, and she instantly gets like thrown back by his looks. And same thing for him as well. It's sort of like a Grumpy Sunshine kind of dynamic because she's very believing in, you know, the best in people, and he's not. And unfortunately they have a really bad interaction because he tells her some bad news about her cat. He tells her that it's not curable and that she would just be selfish trying to keep the cat alive for this reason, and so she tries to prove him wrong by trying to get a GoFundMe to get a surgery for this cat. And she ends up proving him wrong. The cat ends up getting the surgery that it requires, and he ends up apologizing to her by donating to the GoFundMe that she ends up having for it. And she goes back to get the cat checked out, and then he asks her on a date. It goes on from there, and I'll tell you in my first check-in how I'm truly feeling about everything. And the next book I want to read is Fearless by Lauren Roberts. This book is the conclusion to the Powerless trilogy, and I'm so excited to see the ending to this story. I have a lot of ups and downs with this series because the Powerless book was my favorite of the 2 so far, followed by Powerful, which is the novella, and then Reckless was not my favorite. Reckless I had a lot of problems with, mainly due to the repetitiveness of the story and the lack thereof of a plot. I felt like nothing really happened in the second book, so I just think it suffered from a lot of second book syndrome. I love the cover, and I really like the pink on it. I was like debating between this and the Barnes & Noble copy, but I actually ended up liking like the pink petals on this more than the other one, so I decided to get the regular copy. And I'm hoping to get my hands on the Waterstone edition because I do have the other 2 Waterstones edition of this book just to match it. This one is going to hopefully have a good ending and have Peyton and Kai be endgame. Otherwise, I don't know. I doubt she would not make them endgame. We'll see. I might be like eating my words later on, but we'll see how I feel after the end of this book. And I'm prepared to be emotionally wrecked and stressed out by this book, and I'm hoping for good things, but I'm also going into this very cautious. So that's the next book I'll read. The last book I want to hopefully pick up for my anticipated reads is The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. I talk non-stop about how much I love the Magnolia Park series, and Jessa Hastings is such an amazing writer. I love her writing. It's very lyrical. She has a way of deep diving into characters and how they were affected by certain things, how they think, the different ways that they could go into being redeemed, and the familial and friendship relationships between these characters that you feel you know these characters inside and out because of the way she ends up describing all of these characters and their struggles. I'm so excited to read this, and I did read a little synopsis of it. I was kind of like a little bit sad because when I went to go pick this up, it's kind of like deckled edges, and I despise deckled edges so much. I don't know, I just don't like how uneven it is. Is it just me? Because I want my paper straight like this, but I despise deckled edges. But this unfortunately was like the only copies that they came out with in the US. I think in the UK they came out with like regular straight edge pages, but it's fine. I got my hands in this, and so I think I'm gonna read this one last since I'm gonna be finishing Say You'll Remember Me. I want to move on to fantasy, and then after that I'll sandwich it with this book. And I am so ready to read these books because these are highly anticipated releases. I was trying to savor them because I know that this is the only books they're probably most likely gonna release this year, but I can't wait anymore. I keep seeing people talk about these online, and I'm so scared of being spoiled by anything, so I decided to pick these up. And this is only like a quarter of the anticipated reads of this month, but these are the ones I'm prioritizing right now because they came out earlier this month and they're like my anticipated reads and 2 of my favorite authors. So we'll see how I get along with all of these books, and I'll check in with my first update. Okay, so here's my first check-in for Say You'll Remember Me. So this follows 2 characters named Xavier and Samantha. They had a really bad interaction when they first met, but I guess she proved him wrong and was able to raise money through like GoFundMe and everything for the kitten, and it was able to get surgery, and now she's taking care of it, and it's her cat. Cat sort of has like not a fully formed like, you know, bowel area. That was like the danger of it. Since he survived, she ended up naming him Pooter. I just thought that was like a funny name, but Xavier ends up apologizing to her and saying that he was wrong, and ends up donating to her GoFundMe and gives her like one of the biggest donations. So she reaches out again and goes back to his vet office to get a cat cleared for flying. That prompts him to basically ask her out because he can't stop thinking about her ever since like their first interaction. It kind of started giving me the ick a little bit within like the first pages because they kept comparing the way he looks like, because he's tall, very tall, dark but brooding, and he's like never really smiling. Which is like, there's a reason behind it. He kind of has a troubled past, very troubled past. So check your trigger warnings for this because they go over a lot of serious stuff. He like gets compared to Rizan a lot, and I'm like, that's kind of like weird to see my fantasy characters being talked about in a contemporary romance book. He got compared to Reese 4 times within the first like couple of chapters, so it kind of gave me the ick a little bit. I know it's a contemporary romance, was expected, but I don't really like it when the way like this generation describes certain things or uses certain words or slangs is brought up in contemporary romance or any book in general, because it takes me out of the story. So I had to step back a couple of times when it referred to like actual words that are commonly used like on TikTok. Of course, Abby Jimenez is already writing an amazing like character development and character depth for each of the characters, and the female main character is going through a lot as well. She kind of is dealing with a mom who is suffering from dementia, and so she has to leave Minnesota. But before she leaves Minnesota, he asks her out on a date, and then they go on this amazing date and they have a great time and they don't want to leave each other, and then some mishaps happen too during that date, which I thought was pretty kind of like funny and cute. So it's like very rom-commy during their date. She basically tells him that I am leaving and moving to California because I have family issues that I have to go deal with. So she basically tells him to forget about her, and there's nothing that can really happen between them since she's leaving. And of course he can't stop thinking about her. I love their interactions with each other because he's one of those characters who, if he wanted to, he would. Just like similar to Justin from Just for the Summer. Once she moves out to California, she unfortunately has to deal with her mom having dementia, and it is heartbreaking. It's very triggering if you unfortunately are connected to someone who does have dementia or you're closely related to it. Check your trigger warnings because again, this is very heavy. When there's like certain points when she's back home, there are some situations that are super heavy, and it just, you know, you just can't help but feel for them because of how everything is happening. And then he also has a kind of terrible past also. He has parents that he doesn't speak to anymore because there's just some things that they did to him that really like traumatized him as a kid. This is a lot heavier than the other books I've read by Abby Jimenez. She is one of those authors who can really write out a well-researched issues such as mental health, anything that plagues people from their past, abuse, everything like that, and abandonment, people who have like issues with a lot of things that happen in their lifetime. She's basically really good at writing how people are dealing with trauma, and unfortunately these 2 are going through a lot. It's not only about the love story, so I feel like the issues that they're going through with their families is more prevalent in this book rather than the love story. It's like separated. She's in California, he's in Minnesota. I am liking it so far. I love that it's like well written, just like every Abby Jimenez book. It's just so heavy. That's what I'm feeling right now. But I do like their interactions because they're so cute with each other. They're very open and honest with each other. They're very communicative when they are open to asking each other questions. They're not holding questions back. They're not holding anything back from each other. So she knows about his past, he knows about hers. It's a lot of like emotional stuff going on, and rightfully so since they're dealing with a lot. So this is very different from her other books books, because the other ones were dealing with a lot of like heavy, like traumatizing topics, but not as traumatizing as this book. I will keep on reading. I might be able to finish today actually, because I'm at 160 right now, and it's about 356 pages, so I can easily finish this today. So I'll update again once I'm finished with it, and I might not update again until tomorrow. Hi friends, happy Friday. I just wanted to come back with an update, and I finished Say You'll Remember Me, and here are my final thoughts for it. It's very different to a lot of the other Abby Jimenez books that I've read before. This one focuses more on Samantha's family and their struggles and their problems dealing with the fact that their mom has dementia and having to give her constant care. Obviously, she can't take care of herself anymore, and now the family has to step up and help take care of her. And they want to honor her wishes by keeping her at home rather than putting her into a full-time care facility, because they want her to be able to recognize where she's at and not break her routine because she is staying with family. And the last half of the book was a lot of, I want to say, trauma dumping. There was one thing after the other that happened at the last like 20% to Samantha's family. It kind of stressed me out, to be honest, because the relationship between her and Xavier kind of went through a lot of rough spots because they chose to do everything long distance. But I felt like their relationship was a lot more stressful than it was worth it, because he has a clinic and he's the one who took out the loan on the clinic and opened it on his own because he has like a lot of like troubled things going on with his family, and he wanted to prove them wrong because they're very like low opinion of him, and he can't really leave it because he still has a lot to pay off on it, and it's hard for him to just pick up and leave and move over to California. But he chose to do a lot of like double shifts and extra shifts outside of his regular clinic hours to earn extra money so that he can go and visit Samantha. And unfortunately, it's a lot harder for Samantha to go out and visit him. Just, it was a lot of back and forth. They were constantly struggling on how to see each other. It would be months apart without each other. Felt what the characters were feeling. I felt what Samantha was feeling when she was dealing with her mom's basically long goodbye, which is what they call dementia, and also trying to deal with like this new relationship that she had. But that is a true testament to Abby Jimenez's writing, because she's able to make you feel exactly what the characters are feeling at the moment. And I just felt really bad for them the whole entire time. I couldn't imagine going through that. It was very well written, like typical Abby Jimenez books, and I love the characters a lot. It's just that I didn't feel as closely connected to them as I did with the other characters, and this one just didn't resonate with me as much as her other books did. And this one I gave a 4 stars too, just because of like a lot of the stuff that happened at the end. I just felt like with all the struggles that they went through for like 350 pages, the last, I don't know, 20 pages was kind of really an easy way to wrap up the story, in my opinion. But I loved it just the same. But I think this is gonna be my like least favorite of Abby Jimenez's books. I can't say that I enjoyed my time reading it because, as I said before, check a lot of your trigger warnings, because these people go through a lot of things. They go through a lot of trauma and emotional turmoil, and especially if these topics are really triggering for you, I would go into this really like looking to the trigger warnings just to make sure that you're gonna be okay to read this and take care of your mental health as well. And now moving on to my next read, and I already started Fearless. I'm not even that far in. I'm like 30 pages in because I finished Say You'll Remember Me last night, and I need to go into fantasy to kind of like shake off the heaviness that I felt from Say You'll Remember Me. It literally just takes off straight from how it ended from Reckless. It's trying to deal with the consequences of the decisions that were made at the end. I don't know if it was sort of like a strong plot twist, because I sort of kind of predicted the ending of Reckless, but I will give you my thoughts later on when I get further into Fearless. Hi friends, it has been a few days and I haven't given an update since, I don't know, maybe over the weekend, and it's currently Tuesday. I didn't have a chance to check in with my reading for Fearless, but I'm currently, I think I'm almost done. I'm a little over 100 pages away from finishing this book, and you guys, I am actually really enjoying it. I was very hesitant going into this book because my feelings for Reckless were very like disappointed, and I was very cautious in going into this one because my expectations were very low. I didn't want to go in here expecting how it was in Powerless. When I had those expectations going into Reckless, I was severely disappointed, and this one is actually exceeding my expectations a little bit. I like the direction that it's going, and 3/4 of the way in, I have felt so many emotions throughout this whole entire book. I felt a lot of like anger towards certain decisions of the characters, especially the situation that like they're in right now. It's very hard to give an update on the third book of a series, especially if it's like the last book, because I don't want to give anything away. So I'll try my best to just give my overall thoughts rather than like delve too deeply into the plot. But I think Peyton has grown a lot in the past couple of books. She's not gonna be my favorite female main character because I have other ones that are so much stronger than she is, but I do like the certain things that she's learned from throughout her time in this world. She has learned to become stronger and to be able to rely on herself. She is strong enough to control her outcomes in the situations that comes out, but unfortunately they are stuck in a situation where they have to make choices for the better of the realm rather than selfishly. I just love the love story between Peyton and Kai. I think Kai has been super swoon-worthy since the first time I saw him in Powerless, since the first time he ever spoke to Peyton, and I love their love story so much, and their tension is so palpable, it's crazy. I've always said before that Lauren Roberts knows how to write really good banter, and this book is no exception. I think the biggest detriment that I have is that like I honestly don't think we needed Reckless. In fact, I feel like we should have taken half of this book and put that into Reckless and eliminated all the repetitive stuff that was happening. I do get the certain revelations that we found out in the second book was important, but I just felt like we didn't need that many pages of it, especially with how many times they were running across the desert. It was just unneeded. But this one is so good. I'm actually really enjoying it, and there was a part where I seriously was so angry because something happened to a certain character and I was so upset. I had a feeling that like it was gonna be a different outcome, but if it stayed true to the original outcome, I would not have finished this book. I really honestly wouldn't have, because I was just so angry. There were some people who told me to get my tissues ready because I was gonna be emotional, but I wasn't sad. I was just mad when that certain situation happened. I like the revelations that have come about because I honestly think those revelations finally make sense, because I always knew there was something more going on to what we were being told and what Peyton was being told. But I'm highly enjoying myself, and I've gone through so much emotional turmoil. The first 100 pages were kind of slow. It was just kind of going over, reiterating what happened in the second book just to be as a recap, which I appreciate, but it was pretty slow. It did get straight back into the action right after it was done recapping, and I actually kind of like appreciate the recap because I don't remember a lot of like plot points that happened in Reckless, because I was kind of like towards the end of it, I know this is bad, but I was kind of skimming it because I was just kind of over it at that point. And the only, I feel like, good thing that I really liked from Reckless was the poppy field scene. If you know, you know. I am excited to see where this is going to turn, and every single scene that we get from Peter and Kai is just crumbs, and I'm living for it. And the things he says to her, Kai is so swoon-worthy. I've always said that he was super swoon-worthy, and he's not a top book boyfriend. I honestly don't think that, but he is a part of the, like, maybe if I had to choose, he's probably be top 20. And the things he would do for Peyton, he would crawl on his knees to get to his girl. He was one of those types who will unalive anybody who tries to harm her. Even though he knows she can handle herself, he will still worry about her and stand up for her no matter what. So I honestly love it. I'm just excited to see how it's going to conclude. I wanted to take a little break for a little bit, so I did start reading the conditions of will, just to get my mindset out of like a fantasy for a little bit. But I've only gotten maybe not even like 50 pages in, probably 40 pages in, and I am enjoying it so far because I love Jessa Hastings' writing. This follows a character named Georgia. She is London based and she is from South Carolina. One day she gets a call from her sister, and her sister unfortunately breaks the news to her that their dad passed away, but she doesn't really have a close relationship with her family. She has 2 older siblings and then a gay brother that she's close to, and she's not really close to her parents because they're very close-minded, judgmental, religious types from South Carolina, and she has to go back there to deal with her father's death. She has anxiety about going back because she doesn't want to deal with her parents or her older siblings who are sort of like on the same side as their mom and dad, and also she has to deal with it along with her brother, who has also been kind of like shunned from the family as well because he's gay. Jessa Hastings has a way of writing that will make you feel what the characters are feeling, and it's very in-depth. I already see that from the first 30 pages. And also Georgia is sort of like a body language expert. She can read the intentions and the true emotions of people just by reading their body language. She can tell if they're lying. She can tell if there's other like motivations behind the things that they are telling her, and I love how, since we're in her perspective, we get to see how she analyzes certain things about a character, which I kind of want to actually learn, because it would be nice to know if like someone's lying to you, if you see their true motivations, to see if they're trustworthy or not, which is pretty cool. I will come back with an update once I am finished with this, because I have a feeling I'm probably going to finish this today, and then I will move on to this as my final book. I knew it. Okay, time to finish this. Last 30 pages. I'm done. That last 100 pages was a wild ride and a lot of emotions. I'll be back with my final thoughts. Hi friends, it is currently the next day, and now that I've had a chance to gather my thoughts and calm down from all that emotional turmoil, I can finally give you my final thoughts on Fearless. This book was packed with a lot of plot, that's for sure. It's definitely different than what Reckless was, which I'm super happy about. I honestly think that this was probably my second favorite. After finishing it, I thought it was gonna be, no, maybe like 3/4 of the way I thought it was gonna be my favorite of the three, but I don't know how to feel about the ending. I thought the ending kind of wrapped up well for Peyton and Kai because we sort of got that happily ever after ending that we've been wanting for them, but unfortunately to the detriment of other characters not having their happy endings. I don't know, I just feel kind of wrong about the ending because of the way that the ending had to come about, because we had to go through some emotional stuff in order for them to be able to get their ending, and I'm so sad about some of the things that had to happen in order for them to get this ending, and I don't know how to feel. They both are gonna have to go through living with the consequences of their choices in order to come to this ending, and I don't know, it's just, I think it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet because I've had such a roller coaster of emotions with this whole entire series. I love Powerless, Reckless was okay, but I thought Fearless was good. There was nothing like terribly bad about it. I initially gave it a 4.5, but now that I'm thinking about it, I might go down to 4 stars because I just didn't feel completely right about the ending. I'm still kind of really unsettled by it because of how it came about. I'm trying to avoid as little spoilers as possible because I believe that if you did start reading the series already or about to want to read the series, I think you should go into it as blind as possible and form your own opinions about it. But for me, I went through so many different like reactions for the last 150 pages especially. I just wish that the plot that was, you know, presented in this book and all the plot twists and then the revelations that we had was revealed more in the second book, because I feel like this was just thrown in last minute into here. And like I said before, that the first 100 pages was pretty slow. I started getting really into it, but then there was a big chunk in the middle where I started losing interest again, and then towards the end I was so shocked throughout the whole entire thing because of all the things that came about. And I really don't agree with how some of these characters' stories ended up. I wish that they had more because I think they deserve so much more, and I did like a lot of things within this book more than I disliked. Overall, I figured out that Powerless is not gonna be my favorite series of all time. I really just wanted to see how it ended because of what I feel for the characters. I really did think that Peyton did grow in this story, but she did infuriate me with a lot of the choices that she made because I felt like she kept playing both sides. I just felt like she could have made better choices, and I just felt bad for Kai the whole entire time. He was going through it. He was definitely living the sad boy life throughout this whole entire book, but same thing that I thought with like Xaden in Onyx Storm. Just when I couldn't think that Kai could get any better, he got so much better in this book. He spewed out poetry left and right. I honestly think that Lauren Roberts' writing did get better in this book. It became a lot more poetic and a lot more lyrical compared to the first two. And this one was just, I think, a little bit too long in my opinion. I think at least a good 100 to maybe 150 pages could have been easily cut out because there was just stuff that was presented in here that didn't need to be. So do with that as you will. So I think this whole overall series, the whole entire trilogy, is 4 stars. I do highly still recommend this trilogy if you're just wanting a fun good time and also a swoon-worthy male main character. So that was my thoughts on Fearless. Like I said in my last update, I did start on this one and I did get further along, and I'm now on chapter 18, so about 136 pages in, and my goodness, Jessa Hastings like writes such good characters. They're so complex. This book is studying mainly the different familiar relations that this character has when she goes back to her family life in the deep south of South Carolina. There are a bunch of prejudices and a lot of small town opinions that she has to deal with. Unfortunately, the situation that caused her to unfortunately be pushed away from her parents has more to it than meets the eye, and I felt that right away the moment we talked about the situation. And it's so shocking. Some of these characters are so terrible. They're making me so mad because of their prejudices and and their ignorance. And she unfortunately has to overcome a lot of these things. Unfortunately, appearances in this world is very important to these people. Her and her brother were labeled like the black sheep of the family. She did not live to like the perfect cookie cutter daughter that her older sister is, and she has a lot of like conflict with her older sister also and her older brother. The only other family member that she gets along with is her gay brother Oliver, because he unfortunately got ousted also because due to his sexual orientation. Her dad passed away and she's dealing with the emotions or lack of emotions, and Jessa Hastings explores this a lot. I know a lot of people are probably not gonna particularly like this book because of a lot of the drama that has already happened, but I am hooked. There is like crumbs of romance in here as well. Usually in Jessa Hastings books, just like Magnolia Parks, the romance is like the big focus, but in this book the love story is actually taking a back seat. This one, it's more focused on her relationship with her family and how she has to deal with coming back and also dealing with the grief of losing her dad. So I am liking it so far. I already feel like this is gonna be a potentially 5-star. Hopefully I'm not like jumping the gun here, but I love Jessa Hastings' writings. None of her books to me have any ratings lower than 4.5. I love her writing so much because it's a bunch of like run-on sentences, but I feel like I like her style a lot because it really takes you into the character. It takes you into the moment and sees what the character is perceiving, which I really love. So I will continue to update further progress through this book. So I wanted to do an update. I did end up finishing The Conditions of Will. I only did like maybe one checkup with this book because I devoured this book. I couldn't put it down and I ended up binging it. This book was everything that I wanted to be and more, and Jessa Hastings does it again because she does beautiful writing and she does amazing lyrical writing, and she knows how to put you into the perspective of the character and make you feel everything that the character is feeling. This was such a character study of how in-depth childhood trauma can affect your psyche and how familiar relationships are very complicated, and it explored Georgia's relationship with all her family members very well. And I think this book also shows that blood doesn't necessarily mean everything, and sometimes you have to deal with a lot of like trauma that is unfortunately done by your family. And this one follows how she learns how to heal from all of the troubles that she went through as a kid and the things that shunned her and her brother from being a part of the family, which sucks, by the way. Sucks to be pushed aside by your own parents and favored for your two other siblings who are more up to the expectations of their family members. This book, you have to check a lot of your trigger warnings because there are some really dark topics that are explored in this book. And the male main character, Sam Penny, he's Australian, and I don't know if I talked about it, but he is her brother's AA sponsor, and he comes to help support Oliver. He and Georgia end up like starting this relationship, and I loved him as a male main character because he's very mature. There wasn't really any like miscommunication going on between them because he basically told her that if there was anything going on, if she had any problems with him, that they had to come together to talk and they had to communicate about everything, because he learned a lot of these things while he was going through his journey of becoming sober. I love their relationship. I love the fact that he was there to support her and backing her up, and he was also defending her and standing up for her in front of her family. I loved it so much. I absolutely gave this a 6 stars. The last 20%, I went through so many emotions, and you go through these revelations, you find out that there's a lot of secrets that her family members were keeping as well that she finds out along her journey as well. This is a standalone, so it's not going to be a series, but I wish there was going to be more of Sam and Georgia because I need more of them. But I do like that they get a happy ending in this, and I absolutely recommend this. And I love the complexity of the characters. This solidified Jessa Hastings as one of my favorites, and I highly recommend this, especially if you want to basically get a taste of what Jessa Hastings writing is. So I highly recommend picking this up. So I just want to do a recap on the books that I read in this vlog. I did start off with Say You'll Remember Me. It wasn't what I expected, and it's my only book that I haven't given like a 5 stars by Abby Jimenez, but it's beautiful writing nonetheless. I just felt like it wasn't really what I wanted from it, but that was just me, and I do still love her writing just the same. She's still an auto-buy author for me, so anything she comes out with, I'll read. I do recommend picking this up. I do want you to check the trigger warnings as well because a lot of heavy topics are discussed in this book. And then I read Fearless, and Fearless was okay. The more I think about it, the more I felt like, yes, the happy ending was great for the couple that I wanted, but at the same time, I still wanted some better endings for other characters. But it is what it is. The series is done. It's bittersweet. I'm so sad that it's done. I have no more books to look forward to in the series. I'm so looking forward to Lauren Roberts' future books. I'm so sad to say goodbye to Peyton and Kai. And then of course, like I said, this was a 6-star book. Highly, highly, highly recommend picking up this one. Check your trigger warnings. There are a lot of heavy topics on this, but if you want an intro into Jesse Hastings' writing, this one is a great start. So that concludes this highly anticipated books of mine. I'm very happy overall with all the books that I read for this week, and I'm so happy that I was able to read a lot of my anticipated releases. Now I know how I feel about them, but now I have to look forward to the next releases for some of these authors, especially like Abby Jimenez and Jesse Hastings. I don't know when they're gonna come out with new ones. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more videos like this and hear me yap some more about the books that I love, consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you all next time. Bye. Even if you try